Welcome back to Talk of the Town on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM, on WHTC.com, and on the WHTC app for your smartphone. Once again, here's your host, Gary Stevens.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town for this Wednesday, June 19th. It is a Wednesday. Normally we do this on the third Friday of the month, but because of some scheduling situations, we get to do this now. Time now for Clerk's Corner, a look at hockey, elections, and more with Allegan County Clerk and Register of Deeds, Bob Janetsky, on the other side of our table this morning. Bob, good morning. Welcome back, sir.
Good morning, Gary. It's great to be back on Talk of the Town, where the Red Wings tell us that Dylan Larkin might show up for training camp, and Mo Sider might be waiting in the wings to wear the C on his sweater, while we still wonder what Steve Yzerman's going to be with the organization.
Do you get the feeling that we may be looking at perhaps the worst team in the NHL this coming winter?
Oh, I don't know. To be the worst in the NHL, you have to be really, really bad. I would say we're bottom five right now.
Or stagnant.
Yeah.
Going absolutely nowhere.
I think there's enough talent to be stagnant and not go up or down, just kind of float there in the middle where we're not going to get a phenomenal draft pick and we're not going to make the playoffs. And forgive my lack of optimism, but this is just the offseason drama has really frustrated me.
No direction.
No
direction. If the Red Wings would have kept Yzerman, for one more season, at least there is, you have an idea of where the team is going,
right?
But right now, tell me who's come in. Anybody good coming in?
No,
nothing.
No, and people want to leave.
Not just Larkin. Granted, Sebastian Casa was, had been leapfrog a little bit, but still, he was a promising keeper.
Yeah,
he's now with Utah HC.
I thought we might get some bigger names for him, or more, at least more attention over the trade.
Yeah, or get something, at least some input, but it's all losses. Yzerman's gone. Larkin wants to be gone. Kosa's gone. Patrick Kane's gone. You kind of wonder, for a team that didn't make the playoffs and other teams that did improved. That's why I'm saying we may be looking at the worst team in the NHL this winter.
Very frustrating over the last couple of years, and you and I have discussed it quite a bit. We wanted to know what the Yzer plan was, but at least it was his plan, and he had it in mind. And you're right; if they'd have kept him another season, maybe more of that would have been revealed. Now we don't know what direction the team is going, and we certainly don't know what the allure is for somebody else to want to join the club.
Not only that, but sometimes you think, well, they got some prospects down in the minors ready to come up, and the Griffins had a promising season, but it was, I believe, the Toronto Marlies that lifted the Calder Cup this year. So, well, at least you can be able to watch it on Detroit sports.
Well, and did I read that? Did I read that headline? I think it was today, that something along the lines that Red Wings prospect look okay. The prospects look okay. That's not a season ticket sales line.
Oh, and by the way, we did get the notice from the Red Wings network. Hockey is just not too far off. The first preseason game is September 21st. The first regular season game is October 2.
Against the New York Rangers, that October 2 game, if I recall. And there's another organization that has struggled.
Well, let's put it this way. With the Knicks winning the NBA title, Mike Dolan, the owner of both the Knicks and the Rangers, he wants results from his hockey team, or heads will roll.
And he's got the money to do it, too.
All right. Let's talk about elections and some other things. If you have a question for Bob Janetsky, 616-395-1450. Well, I would assume that the August 4th primary election ran smoothly in Allegan County.
I appreciate the opportunity. It ran as smoothly as could be. There were a lot of changes. Keep in mind, in 2024, we saw 11 clerks of our 32 retire. So we had a whole bunch of brand new clerks running elections. And given that, I think that things went well overall. It was a busy and a challenging ballot for a lot of people, but the feedback I'm getting from voters are that they felt well served and that they were able to cast their ballots without issue. And the canvassers voted to certify the election Friday morning, so it's definitely in the books. And the results online now are official results, and we'll wait for the state canvassers to make it official at the state level. But overall, pretty smooth. We had a roughly 31% turnout throughout the county, which was not a crazy high turnout, but not a crazy low turnout for a primary. And then my concern is the early in-person voting dropped down to about 10%. If you recall, 2 years ago, Allegan County in November was basically a state record, as we fell second in the entire state with roughly 34% of our voters choosing to participate early in person. So I'm of the belief that 9 days of early voting is not necessary for the August primary. I think it's a waste of money at this point.
Yeah, we'll see what happens along that line. There was a town hall earlier this week in Ann Arbor where state leaders were saying that, they were discussing voting, election security, absentee ballots, voter eligibility, and more. The Deputy Secretary of State told people they can trust the election results. They are constantly working to prevent non-eligible people from voting. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, to me, it was a response, and I'll be honest with you, it was a response to President Trump calling repeatedly for an FBI investigation into Michigan election officials.
Well, in the backdrop of that, you've got the Attorney General pressing charges against 6 non-citizens who were found to have taken part in voting, I believe, 2 years ago and 4 years ago. So there's, and I've said this on the show before, I have tremendous faith in our local clerks and in the election inspectors that make sure that your ballot gets cast on election day and in absent voter counting boards. I have tremendous faith in our machines. As we've seen in local recounts, they work really well when they are calibrated and maintenance properly. My concern is the voter rolls, since Lansing has taken more and more of that responsibility away from your local clerks who have ties to the local newspapers, the local church networks. They know when a neighbor dies or something like that. When Lansing took over the automatic registration through one of those statewide proposals, anybody who touches a Secretary of State's office for any reason, unless they refuse or go out of their way to refuse to be put on the voter rolls, those individuals are put on the voter rolls. So you see, we had a Canadian citizen who lives in Monterey Township a couple years ago, placed on the voter rolls because he got a license for his boat. He didn't want to be there, didn't ask to be there, but he was more focused on his boat than he was telling them to not put him on the voter roll. So it's definitely not a perfect system. And as we saw yesterday in Lansing, or maybe it was the day before, where the citizens-only voting petition drive was basically the Secretary of State is telling that group that they did not have enough signatures. I'm really questioning that because I was there the day they dropped off those signatures. That's a well-funded and well-run group that was very confident that they had well above the number of legitimate signatures to put that on the November ballot. So I'm very interested to see what the State Board of Canvassers is going to respond to the Secretary of State's findings.
If you have a question for Allegan County Clerk, Register of Deeds Bob Janetsky, 616-395-1450. I've brought this up earlier this week, and I'll bring it up now, more of conjecture and possibility than it is actual concrete. Proposal 1 on the statewide ballot in November 3rd, will be asking citizens if a constitutional convention is to be brought up. Every 16 years, the vote has to be done. And the 3 previous votes since 1963, when the Constitution was passed, have been no on convening a new convention, but the number of no votes have gone down. The margin has gone down. What I'm bringing it up to you, Bob, not so much the merits of the question, but the actual logistics. If voters do approve the creation of a constitutional convention, they would have to convene, draw up a document. Delegates would have to be voted on with a special primary in February and a vote the first Tuesday in May. Normally, that's a nice sleepy election. It might be kind of, if this thing passes, it might be a little busy for you and your state. Well, for local clerks around the county.
Is open for a vacation next year. First of all, I appreciate you reminding the listeners as to the history. This all stems from the 1963 state constitution. One of the provisions in that constitution was to automatically, every 16 years, put on the ballot a request as to whether or not Michigan voters would like to revisit the Constitution, open it up, and have another constitutional convention. So that will be the first proposal that voters see this November when they go to look at their ballots in November. If voters approve that this time around, and you are correct, there's been a declining interest in keeping the current Constitution over the last 3 cycles, the last 3 16-year cycles. And given the amount of angst out there relative to what's currently in the Constitution and just the challenges of Michiganders in general, they could very well pass this November, which would trigger a sprint of candidates declaring to be delegates. Those delegates would be chosen by state House district and state Senate district.
Let me put that in just to amplify that.
Yeah.
1 delegate per House district, 1 delegate per Senate district.
So you would have 110 delegates because that's how many state House members you have, and then you'd have 38 delegates representing the state Senate districts, all going to this constitutional convention. Again, the primary in February. We're used to running February primaries for presidential elections, not in off years for delegates. This would present a very new and interesting situation. Those candidates will all have to file with the Secretary of State's office in most cases, because those offices now bleed over and outside the individual counties. And whenever a seat in the state House or state Senate goes across county lines, they have to file with the Secretary of State. So they would all file and appear on that ballot. If they meet the criteria, they would appear on that ballot. Understand, we haven't seen this since 1960, I believe, so I couldn't tell you what the legitimate criteria was. I assume you have to be a U.S. citizen. I assume you have to live in that district and be 18 years of age and a registered elector. And then that vote would basically go down to that.
Would it be partisan? Would it be a partisan vote? Probably.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
My understanding is that it would be a partisan vote, partisan primary in February, and then the general election in May. We're not used to saying that. It sounds weird coming out of my mouth, but we would be running a pretty big election next year.
With early voting, maybe?
Oh, God, I hope not. Oh, geez. I'm going to contemplate retirement. That didn't even cross my mind until you said
it. But it's a statewide thing.
Yeah. And
it's not for statewide offices, but it's a statewide election.
Yeah, we might in fact be running early voting in February and in May already. I'm going to look at my vacation calendar for next year.
And if you're having problems getting clerks nowadays.
Yeah. Start throwing in those extra convention voting. And so my understanding from there is after those delegates are elected to the state constitutional convention, they will come up with a document or amendments to the current document and changes, and they will vote on that, and that will then go to the voters for either approval or disapproval. The voters don't have the option of carving individual pieces out or adding individual pieces. It's yay or nay on what is produced out of that convention.
All right, 616-395-1450. So I'm just saying, if that vote goes yes on November 4 or November 3 for the Constitutional Convention,
next year could be quite a newsworthy year for you. You're gonna be pretty busy.
We'll have to be vigorous and energetic. Fits of energy we're gonna have to put up with. Okay, I want to bring this up now. Granted, it's been a week actually 10 days since it happened, because no, wait a minute, not 10 days. I'm sorry, 8 days. Annually on the 11th of August, it's National Poll Worker Recruitment Day by the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, establishing the day to promote civic engagement and encourage people to sign up to be poll workers. The goal is to recognize the pivotal role that poll workers play in ensuring safe, secure elections, while also inspiring more people to volunteer and support fair voting. Now, we just finished an election, so why am I bringing this up? Well, A, it was only 8 days ago, but B, more than anything else, there's always a need for more people, especially on hand for Election Day.
There really is, and if you go into a polling place on Election Day, you're going to notice that the average age is an individual in their 60s or even 70s. First of all, we need very civic-minded people who care deeply about the process and about their country from both major parties. And so you find a lot of people who believe in that. But yet we also need people who can afford to take a Tuesday off work or not be at work on a Tuesday that often bleeds into early Wednesday. That narrows your pool of candidates quite a bit. And so retirees are one of the biggest catches for election inspectors and for your local clerks. But we are finding more and more students taking part in that. We are finding also a really neat group of people who is willing to take a day off, use their PTO time from another job because they believe that much in the job, in the system, and in doing their civic duty. So some really neat people. Now, as I just mentioned, in Allegan County, we only had about 31% turnout for the primary. For the general election, there are going to be a lot more voters to help through the process, a lot more voters to make sure that their ballots get cast. So we need more election inspectors, and the best way to do that is to reach out and contact your local clerk. Your local clerk is right now compiling a list of people who are willing to do that in November for the November 3rd election. From there, they will send you to training with your county clerk, and then your county clerk will certify you as an election inspector in Allegan County. That training is about 3 hours long for certification. I know that Justin Roebucks is right about the same amount of time. So if you think you're going to cross county line and get 10 minutes less of training.
No.
We've had talks about that. But and then from there, you're certified and you can go and work anywhere in that county that you're certified under a local clerk.
Bob, let's step to the other side of your duties as a Register of Deeds. A couple of things perhaps are on your agenda along those lines.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Gary. As I've been going around to the township meetings and city council meetings, I bring with me that property fraud alert brochure just to remind everybody that you want to get signed up. And I'm shocked at the number of people who still haven't signed their property up to make sure that if someone records a deed or a transfer of their property, that the individual who owns it will get a text message, a phone call, or an email informing them of that recording. Really, really important to prevent property fraud or title theft. So just want to remind everybody, if you're out there, you live in Allegan County or you own property in Allegan County, call the Register of Deeds office at 269-673-0390 or go online to www.allegancounty.org. /Register of Deeds, and you can sign up at our website there. It's really important, and it's free, completely free. As I think I mentioned before, we haven't had any recent prosecutions in Allegan County relative to that, but we've had 2 parcels that someone had gone far enough as to put a for sale sign out in front of before a neighbor called the out-of-state owner and said, hey, I didn't realize you were selling. So the number one target for those individuals that perform that type of crime is they look at vacant land, out-of-state owner, with no mortgage on it, because if there's a mortgage, there's a lien against it, right? So it's a lot quicker process for them to sell that and run away with the cash before anybody's even noticed. So please sign up for Property Fraud Alert.
616-395-1450. Good morning. You're on the line with Clerk Bob Janetsky.
Yes, Bob. I live in Ottawa County. Should we do that too?
You should, and you're blessed. Clerk and Register of Deeds Roebuck has the exact same service available. Matter of fact, I learned about it from him. He was offering it longer than I was, to be fair, but it's quick, it's easy, it's simple, and it's free, and it gives you peace of mind in protecting your home or land from property fraud.
Wow, that's awesome. So do we have to go to that office then?
You do not. You can go and sign up online or by calling the office and ask them to put you on that list.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to do that.
You're welcome.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the call. 616-395-1450. Two things along those lines then. One, it is public knowledge about your property that others can get to.
Yes.
But if you sign up for Property Fraud Alert, you're not going to get that list sold out, so you're not going to get more texts or junk emails or stuff like that.
Great question. I appreciate that. And when we contracted with our vendor for Property Fraud Alert, that was one of our big questions. I don't want to be on another list. I don't want to get text messages trying to sell me this, that, or whatever. No, your deeds, everything on the Register of Deeds website is public, and anybody can look that up, which is why fraudsters are out there scheming right now. However, your participation in Property Fraud Alert is completely secret. It's between my office and you, or Justin Robick's office and you, and nobody gets that information.
Speaking about the fact that you've been at local township and city council meetings, you've been getting good responses from what I understand, not just about Register of Deeds stuff, but clerk stuff as well. You've been out and reporting to these local entities, and they feel as if, hey, the county's doing something, working with us on this.
Yeah, I from the time I first ran for this office and prior to that running for state representative, I felt it was incredibly important for elected officials to go in front of their city councils and in front of their township boards, explain what's going on in the office and how it's going to affect them, and get feedback from them. And it's a blessing. It's created a lot of wonderful relationships through the years, and it generates questions. The question regarding Property Fraud Alert has come more from the township trustees and the city council members who had heard about it once or twice, but then they saw something on the news and it became more important to them. It became real when a friend was threatened by title theft. So there are things people will ask you in person or face to face that they're not going to make a phone call or an email about, and it's at a public meeting, so it's on public record. So I appreciate the fact that I'm able to do it, and I appreciate those relationships that continue.
All right. One final thing. You've been also not only telling them what's going on with both of your offices, but also you've been relaying the annual report.
Yes.
You've been with these entities.
Yes, incredibly excited about the annual report. Yeah, it got out a little late this year, as it tends to do during big election years because there's so much going on. But the annual report that you can also find on our website at AlleganCounty.org /annual reports, or on any of the pages from my office, has the latest, most information and best information relative to the offices of Register of Deeds or the county clerk. And you can print that off in color or call my office and we'll send you a copy.
Again, the website that Bob has mentioned about getting more information, not only about the clerk's office, but the Register of Deeds office, go to AlleganCounty.org, AlleganCounty.org. If you need to get a hold of the clerk's office, 269-673-0450, 269-673-0450. Bob Janetsky, as always, thank you very much for joining us today, passing on some needed information about elections. Wish you and your staff well, and we'll do this again at the usual spot, the third Friday in September. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good, Gary. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Bob Janetsky on WHTC, Holland's Cool FM.